Call me Master Zen cause I'm a flicky bands.
Oi, give boy, see the stupid time, man. Nothing's on, let's get shit.
Sisters who have been raised in religious isolation are introduced to temptation.
Hold up. The hell? They have been raised in temptation. Hold on, man, hold on. Gotta do something real quick. I'm gonna be back. Right, I'm back. My bad.
Sisters who have been raised in religious isolation are introduced to temptation when their cousin moves in with them. As she comes of age, Sarah is given her Christian rights by her grandmother, Paulina, and her father, Armando.
Christian rights? What that mean?
However, the woman struggles to focus as she hears a baby's cries in her mind. After her father's prayers, Sarah says, Amen, then passes out. On another day, Sarah's sister, Esther, helps her with chores while their father polishes his gun in the kitchen and listens to a preacher on the radio. Once the sun sets, the family gathers to confess their sins. Esther admits that she dreamed of leaving their valley and falling in love with the knight who saved her. This disappoints their elders, so Armando grabs his daughter and orders her to read a passage from the Bible. However, Esther recalls the passage about how sadness leads people to repent for something they shouldn't regret. The implication angers her father, but Paulina stops him and turns their attention to the youngest daughter, Miriam. She recites a passage about how the Lord will vanquish them if they humiliate themselves in front of him. But her grandmother corrects her that he will raise them from sin, not vanquish them. To end the evening, the family holds hands in prayer before receiving their sacramental bread. After this, Sarah takes a bath but feels a strange urge, so she prays. She later joins her sisters in bed, but she struggles to sleep as the other two are still playing. Seeing her frustration, Esther teases her older sister that she saw her commit a sin. Paulina suddenly checks in on them, and she makes them kneel on corn as punishment for staying up and making noise. Sarah leads the prayer to ask for forgiveness, but Esther, who isn't taking the punishment seriously, discreetly grabs at her sister's dress and pulls, distracting her. The next day, Sarah digs her feet into the soil and prepares herself for her next ceremony. She then picks up a fig and eats it.
Oh, what? Hold on, big bruh. Where the fuck is my soundboard? What the fuck? Oh, what, big bruh? Man, I better chill out, boy. Y'all scaring the fuck out of me, man.
Prepares herself for her next ceremony. She then picks up a fig and and eats it. Elsewhere, Esther relishes the sun and
Damn, y'all ain't need some motherfucking Vaseline, shorty, with them dry ass lips.
even opens her dress partially. The sisters later listen to the preacher on the radio, but as Paulina prompts them, they denounce the host's teachings. Sarah calls the preacher a pagan since he uses God to justify taking whatever they wanted but didn't need. However, Esther questions why they still cover up during hot weather. Armando says this is God's will to maintain their holiness. In defiance, Esther opens one button of her dress, and this earns her a slap from her father before he
Hey, deserved. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Why the hell you wanna show, bro? Cover yourself up. Be modest, nigga. Shit. You lucky as your parents not black, but hey, she got a slap for that shit.
walks away. Her grandmother fixes up her dress and reminds her that they must remain faithful even in the smallest ways. Otherwise, none of their sacrifices will matter. Esther, however, questions why they haven't reached the promised land, despite their sacrifices. Paulina explains that the three are still young branches that have yet to bear fruit. Since she's
Nigga, I would say this. God forgive me. I would literally say this. Yo, you talking about the promised land, but you out here thinking about shit like that. How the hell you gonna reach the promised land if you out here moving like this? Real talk. Manipulation. Now she finna start moving correctly.
the eldest, Sarah, Paulina explains that the three are still young branches that have yet to bear fruit. Since she's the eldest, Sarah is meant to bear fruit first. Hence, she ate a fig as part of the ceremony to induce conception. Miriam wonders when she can eat a fig, but Paulina dismisses the topic and tells the trio to prepare for their guest's arrival. This excites the sisters. Meanwhile, Armando goes to his shed and retrieves a box. He opens it and mourns before embracing the item. At night, Sarah struggles to sleep again since Esther and Miriam are listening to the radio. The youngest invites their eldest sister to join the fun, but Sarah ignores them. The radio host then mentions a song about meeting the man of their lives. Miriam thinks she's talking about Jesus, but Esther tells her that they're destined to meet a man who'll take them to the sea. Miriam asks about the sea, and her sister dreams that it's a wide place where the breeze fills their bodies. The following day, Miriam keeps asking about their guest, but Armando refuses to say anything, bothered by how excited his daughter is. To quell her curiosity, Paulina explains that their guest is her nephew, and therefore their cousin. Their father adds that the man is only staying with them because he has nowhere else to go. He sternly warns his daughters not to interact with him. Esther, however, pointedly asks her father if the man will put them in danger, all while staring at Armando knowingly. The father gets her hint, so instead of answering, he stares down at her as if to warn her not to step out of line. Defeated, Esther looks away. Still, Esther later stays at the farm to admire her body privately. Meanwhile, a frantic Sarah hides her blood-stained innerwear, scared that her ceremony didn't work. Sarah still confesses to her grandmother
So them niggas not tapped in with the whole natural things? The fact?
that she bled. Paulina assures her Sarah still confesses to her grandmother that she bled. Paulina assures her that as long as she's faithful, she'll eventually bear a child. She also assures them that their monthly situation is God's way to keep women pure. To ensure that God knows that Sarah is repentant, Paulina decides that she'll sleep on the porch tonight. This makes Miriam fear for her sister, but Paulina just prays with the trio before urging Sarah to slay a bird tomorrow as their offering. Night falls, and Sarah struggles to sleep due to the noise in the woods, so she prays until morning comes. Finally, their guests arrive, and while Miriam and Esther are excited to meet him, Sarah keeps to herself, though she's still curious. They listen as Paulina gives the guest a tour of the property, but forbids him from entering the house where his cousins live. Despite their elders separating them, the sisters catch a glimpse of their cousin while they're working at the farm. Later, Sarah has caught and killed a pigeon, which she and her sisters bring to Paulina. However, their grandmother knows they were watching their guest, so she reminds them that he's their cousin, and therefore, showing interest in him is a greater sin. She also scolds Esther for
Nigga, what type of interest you fucking talking about? Huh? They just trying. Even when the English is running out, bro. They just want to see what the hell going on with that boy, man. That's it. Nothing freaky. The hell?
keeping her dress unbuttoned. But she also scolds Esther for keeping her dress unbuttoned. But the defiant
Man, her little ass gonna piss me off, bro. Freak ass.
woman argues that God didn't create them in his image to be ashamed. Paulina just orders her granddaughter to study better before leaving. Once she's gone, the lady's cousin, Primo, approaches to refill his bottle from the well. Sarah keeps her eyes away from him, while her sisters watch curiously at the first man they meet, who isn't their father. At dinner, Miriam wonders if Primo has already hunted the wolf that's been bothering them. She insists that he must have, since he looked like he had killed the beast already, and this conversation angers their father. Hoping to end their curiosity, Paulina calls on Primo and announces that she'll baptize him to make him pure. However, Armando also grabs the man and warns him against eyeing his daughters. Late that evening, Esther sneaks back into her bedroom, waking her sisters. She confesses that she feels a strong urge around Primo, making her doubt if their studies are better than the preachings from the radio.
Nigga, what?
Sarah scolds her, but Esther asserts that these feelings are normal. Otherwise, they wouldn't have them to begin with. The following day, the
Nigga, that's your fucking cousin. What the hell that man talking about, bro? Sweet home Alabama.
sisters watch Paulina baptize Primo, yet all Esther can focus on is seeing his skin. Miriam worries that her sister will become impure, but Esther insists that her feelings are meant for fearless women. Meanwhile, Armando goes to
Bitch, you don't even know about a lot of shit. Where do you get that shit from?
his shed and retrieves the box where he keeps his deceased wife's photo. Miriam joins him as he mourns, so the man shares how he regrets not being able to save her. When his daughter asks what happened, Armando explains that her mother betrayed God. Hearing this, Miriam reminds him that the dead can't affect them. He also taught them against idolatry, but he acts as if he's worshipping his deceased wife. This breaks Armando out of his mourning, so he quietly puts the box away. That evening, Miriam and Esther listen to their radio. The radio host talks about a romantic setting, but Armando pounds on his daughter's door, ordering them to go to sleep. They turn the radio off, but Esther continues teasing Sarah about her fantasies.
I ain't gonna lie, my nigga. She just needs one sucker punch, man. Shut your stupid ass up, man. Freak ass nigga.
Esther wonders about eloping with a man in the mountains where their father can't reach her. Her sisters worry that she'll leave them, but Esther tells them to run away too. The brazen woman then continues teasing Sarah while narrating what it might be like to be with a man. However,
Sure.
they hear their door open, so the sisters pretend to sleep. This doesn't fool their father, so he scolds them before exiting. Determined to show her sister another life, Esther pulls Sarah to the field the next day. To Sarah's shock, the place is where Primo bathes, allowing the sisters to watch him in secret.
Hey! Hey!
Sarah looks
Sure.
away in embarrassment, though she still peeks when the man comes into view. Suddenly, Primo screams in anguish, confusing the sisters. The following afternoon, the trio is gathered by their grandmother, who's tired of their rowdy evenings. Paulina asks Miriam what they do, so the youngest one shares that Esther sometimes wakes her up to talk about her nightmares. When asked what these nightmares are, Sarah assures their grandmother that her sister is ashamed of these dreams. Esther argues that it isn't true, threatening Sarah to reveal what they saw yesterday if she lies again. While the sisters are punished with more chores afterward, they smile at each other, finding camaraderie in their experience despite their previous arguments. On another day, Armando decides that Esther and Sarah are ready to be women of the household and care for their younger sister. However, Sarah wonders if this means they can no longer have families of their own, while Esther asks if they don't have to do confessions since they'll be holding them instead. Armando argues that they still must follow their creed. Paulina disagrees that they're ready, yet she must follow their father's decision, so she crowns the sisters with flowers. Armando then decides to celebrate tonight, but Paulina claims that an event must involve the entire family, including Primo.
The entire family, man. I ain't gonna lie, shorty. Ain't gonna lie, grandma, you the fault. Yeah, it's funny to get. Nah, hell nah, bro. I can't even speak, bro. Cause I was about to say some diabolical thing, talking about like she the one that's behind like them doing the deed, or they're about to do the deed. She's the reason for that shit, man.
With this, the sisters prepare for the celebration with Esther paying close attention to her appearance. They then join the rest at the dinner table, and to keep the conversation casual, Armando mentions seeing a new pack of wolves in the woods. Esther jokes that the hunters will be damned if they become the hunted, and Armando scolds her for saying such things. The defiant daughter insists that what she said is in the Bible, and when her father says otherwise, she argues that it's on the pages he doesn't allow them to read. This earns her another slap, and Armando orders his daughters to leave. At night, Sarah wakes up
Man, she do love getting her ass slapped, man.
to find that Esther has left. She searches for her and discovers Esther with Primo in the barn. Sarah looks away at first, but she can't help but watch the two. Esther spots her sister watching, yet she doesn't stop her activities with Primo. Ashamed, Sarah finally leaves, but stops at the fig tree. She climbs a branch to take another fruit to try her ceremony again, but a sensation overcomes her, making her stop and relish the feeling. Hours later, she's back.
Hey, you see these big words? What you mean? She stops to what they're feeling. The feeling of what?
She climbs a branch to take another fruit to try her ceremony again, but a sensation overcomes her, making her stop and relish the feeling.
Bro, ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm a very direct nigga, bro. Be straight, my nigga. It's not even on something like, it's all for like niggas trying to like say certain things so he doesn't get demonetized or some shit like that. Bruv, you could have just said, because of what she saw, she got aroused. Why can't you say that? The feeling to relish. What the fuck?
Hours later, she's back in bed before Esther returns. Sarah berates her for endangering them, but her sister thinks she's jealous. Esther pins the woman down and talks about how her night felt. Tempting her, she kisses Sarah, who then pushes her away. The next day, Sarah punishes herself by kneeling on corn. She then prays to the fig tree, asking for forgiveness for what she did last night. Not long after, she hears Primo chopping
What did she do? You see? Not confusion, man.
wood nearby. Hesitantly, she approaches him, not knowing that Esther is watching nearby. Sarah tries to converse with the man, but he ignores her. Because of this, while Sarah is bathing later on, Esther steals her outfit. Desperate, the woman fetches clothes that are hanging out to dry. Esther then confronts her about being tempted by Primo as well, castigating her for acting better than her. She also points out that Sarah wants a family, but to do that, she needs to marry and be with a man, which she considers a sin. Sarah pushes her, but Esther continues that perhaps God sent Primo to them for a reason.
Nigga, that's your cousin. That's literally your cousin.
That night, Sarah catches Esther leaving again, so she follows her and catches her with Primo. This time, both she and the man see Sarah watching, yet they continue. The woman storms off, but Armando catches her walking back to the house. She lies that she heard wolves around, but her father insists that he killed the pack already. He also noticed that Esther wasn't in their bed, so he questions where her sister is. Before Sarah can stop him, Armando trudges on, and the woman decides not to intervene out of fear. The father soon reaches the barn, so Esther quickly runs off. Paulina then hears 2 gunshots from the house, and when Armando joins her, he claims that he killed 2 wolves. His mother questions this since he supposedly killed them all, but he doesn't respond and just goes to bed. The next day, Sarah eats a fig and waits, hoping she'll bear a child this time. However, she catches Primo watching her before leaving. While Miriam and Esther harvest from the farm, they hear Sarah scream. She was bitten by a snake, and despite her objection, Primo sucks the venom out of her leg, surprising her.
Hey, freak ass nigga.
Later on,
That's the only way you know.
a suspicious Paulina gathers the sisters and assures them that she has also sinned when she doubted their father's decision. She hopes this will encourage the trio to confess, yet Esther claims that she has nothing to say. Sarah, however, admits that Primo touched her leg when he was sucking out the snake's venom. With much hesitation, she confesses that the touch gave her relief. Paulina is proud of her for confessing, then turns to Miriam. She asks if the youngest one thinks her sisters are good examples to her, but she says no since they told her that they've seen Primo's body, which alarms Paulina. This earns the sisters lashes on their legs. Despite this, Esther continues seducing Primo on another day while they're hidden on the farm. Sarah hears them, so she marches away. She can't keep the secret any longer, so during their lunch, she orders Esther to confess in front of their grandmother. This leads to the women fighting, and Armando, who overhears them, pulls Esther away. The woman is later questioned by her grandmother, yet she refuses to confess. Paulina lashes her hands and warns that they'll send her to the wolves if she doesn't confess, but Esther firmly believes that she didn't sin. Sarah and Miriam stay in bed as they hear Esther being punished all night. By morning, Esther refuses to speak to her sister while Paulina stays vigilant.
Man, she can eat dick. What? Wait, me saying that she probably would love doing that. Oh, brother.
Despite all these, Esther attempts to tempt Primo, only to get caught by her father. He drags her by the hair back to his shed and yells at her. But when her sisters arrive, he refuses to say what happened. Instead, he gathers his daughters and decides that it's time for them to learn how to survive in the woods. Esther refuses, asserting that he's punishing her for something he'd already done. Ignoring this, Armando orders his daughters to pack for their trip, adding that Primo will stay with Paulina while they're gone. That night, Paulina learns of what happened and berates her granddaughters. Because of this, she allows her son to take them to the woods tomorrow. Afraid of what punishment awaits them, Sarah has a change of heart and urges her sisters to escape. However, Esther is now convinced that they can never escape their father and grandmother's wrath. Miriam then wonders what the world is like outside their property, and Sarah promises that it's like what they listen to on the radio. However, their younger sister decides that she doesn't like that world. Esther then calls out Sarah for being scared of getting what she wanted. At sunrise, the family prepares for their trip. Miriam gathers fruits and mentions to Paulina how her father used to like their berries, but dislikes them now. Paulina explains that people's tastes change as they grow older, making Miriam worry if she won't like figs anymore when she comes of age.
Yo, that word, bruv.
The grandmother assures her that she doesn't have to change if she doesn't want to. She then recounts how she used to hunt in the woods until her son became better at it. Miriam thinks this is why Armando wants to start teaching them how to hunt, and Paulina pauses before saying yes. Elsewhere, Armando tells Sarah that her mother was beautiful and strong like her, so he begs her to help him with her sisters. Unbeknownst to them, Esther steals a slingshot that Sarah made and leaves it for Primo to find. The man takes the slingshot and mistakes it as a gift from Sarah, so he approaches her while she's bathing. Upon seeing this, Esther runs to her father and claims that Paulina is
If I put a bullet in her head. Yo, nah, if she put a bullet in her head, she gonna be wrong, right? You see the bullet?
feeling sick in the bathhouse. Armando rushes there while Sarah gives in to temptation upon seeing Primo's eyes on her. This ends when the father catches them in the act. That evening, a beaten Primo spends the night in a cage while Sarah waits for her punishment. Miriam finds her distraught grandmother in the fields, assuring her that her sisters won't sneak out at night anymore. Later on, Paulina prepares a ceremony for her granddaughters. Armando tries to dissuade her, but she blames him for their actions. She stresses how she's turned a blind eye on his and his wife's sins before, so she won't do it now. The grandmother then confronts Sarah about her impurity. She blames her mother's genes for her mistakes, worrying that her sisters will end up the same.
Damn!
Sarah asserts that she's the only sinner, hoping to spare her sisters and even Primo from punishment. When Paulina argues that she's corrupted the others, Sarah defends that they
Corrupted the others. Is you retarded? Grandma! The other shorty's the one fucking the Primo guy.
should not be judged by their thoughts but only by their actions. Paulina orders her to repent, but the woman decides that though she's a sinner, what she did wasn't wrong. With this, Paulina decides that she will not judge her granddaughter, but she will send her to the one who should. Soon, Armando fetches his wife's picture again in tears. Meanwhile, Paulina prepares a concoction for Sarah and Esther. As the woman begins the ritual for the two, their father drags Primo into the field, but hesitates in ending his life. This allows the man to escape. Paulina proceeds to
Who the hell? Nah, I don't know what type of religion these boys got going on. Nigga, for my religion or my understanding, nigga, or their religion is very similar. Nobody has the right to kill other people, man. The hell?
give her granddaughters the sacramental. This allows the man to escape. Paulina proceeds to give her granddaughters the sacramental bread and wine, promising that God will save them if he forgives them. As Armando attempts to chase after Primo later, he instead finds Esther's and Sarah's bodies in the water. He mourns them before returning to his mother's side. Paulina holds the man's hand to comfort him, not knowing that his remaining daughter has snuck out. Miriam goes to the fig tree to begin her ceremony alone, but soon, Paulina arrives to stop her from going down the same path as her sisters did.
Subscribe to watch more.
Man, that's some bullshit, boy. I'ma see y'all boys, man. Nigga, freaky as hell out here, man.
Call me Master Zen, cause I'm a flick these bands.